Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Hala.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Hala from Palestine, Gaza. I'm actually studying medicine. I finished my first medicine with the help from some people all around the world to give some funds, and then I finished my first year by 94%. It's everything in English and listen. I didn't study the subject before, anatomy, histology, physiology, but I I got high marks. Thanks everyone for helping me. If I can ask Manuela to start the event.
Yes, of course. It's my honor, Hala. And
Thank
it's
you.
lovely to have you here.
Manuela, can you welcome everybody to the World Storytelling Cafe?
Of course, it's with great honor that I welcome each and every one of you. Both those are here present in this room, but also those of you who are following us from other channels online. So welcome to this very special event today. And a huge thank you to David and everybody behind the World Storytelling Cafe for having organized this event for Hala. And I'm not very good with introductions, David, so I hope that's okay for now.
That was beautiful, Manuela.
Okay. So I'm going to start by telling you a story today, and it's a true story. It's one of the first stories I shared with Hala when we met back in 2020. And that story has traveled and it's back here today. It's come all the way round back. And I'm going to tell it to you today. It's a story about a girl named Florence. But you're not just going to listen. You're going to help me tell it. So I need you to be present and listen with your whole self. And when I pause, be ready to respond. Are you with me?
Yes.
Totally.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's begin. Long ago, more than 50 years ago, more than 100 years ago, more than 150 years ago, there was a girl. Her name was Florence Nightingale. And this is the story of how she changed the world. Now, Florence didn't start out as a hero. She started out as a girl with a problem. And before I tell you more, I want you to know something. How many of you have ever had a dream that your family didn't really support? How many of you? Show me. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. Now keep that feeling in mind, because that's where Florence's story begins. Florence was born into a very rich family in England. They had beautiful homes, servants, everything a girl could want. Her parents had plans. They had plans for Florence. Go to parties, wear nice dresses, get married, be quiet. But not Florence. Florence had a fire inside her. She wanted to be a nurse. Now, in 1840, this was shocking, absolutely unacceptable. Nursing wasn't respectable at all. Hospitals were dirty, horrible places. Her mother looked at her and said, "Absolutely not, Florence. No." Her father refused even to discuss it. Her family was ashamed. So, what do you think Florence did? Did she give up? Did she say, "Okay, family, I'll do what you want"? What do you think?
She persevered.
She persevered.
Exactly. She did not give up. This is what she did instead. For years and years, Florence waited patiently, but not passively. She read books about nursing, books she hid from her family. She visited hospitals when nobody was looking. She practiced, she learned, she prepared. She believed that one day she would do this. She would be a nurse. And then, one day, everything changed. A terrible war began in a place far away called Crimea. Soldiers were dying, not just from fighting, from disease, from infection, from having nobody to care for them. When Florence heard about this, what do you think she did?
Got involved in caring for the sick and the disabled.
Off she went.
She went there.
Exactly. She went. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait. She simply went. At 34 years old, Florence traveled across the sea to a hospital. And when she arrived, she saw suffering like she'd never seen before. Soldiers lay on dirty beds. Wounds were not being cleaned. There was no one to sit with them, to hold their hand, to say, "You matter, your life matters." And Florence looked at all this suffering and she rolled up her sleeves. And every night, every single night, Florence carried a lamp. She walked through the hospital. She cleaned the beds. She bandaged the wounds. She brought fresh water. And most importantly, she sat with the dying men. She held their hands. She whispered, "You are not alone." The soldiers called her the lady with the lamp. Now, here is something remarkable about Florence. She didn't just care for her patients. She noticed something. She counted. She watched. She observed. She kept records. And she discovered more soldiers were dying from dirty conditions than from their actual wounds. So she fought. She fought with the doctors who said, "That's just how it is." She fought with officials who said, "We can't change it." She fought because she believed one person could make a difference. Do you believe that? That one person can change things?
Yabo.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes, even when it seems impossible. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is courage. That is what changes the world. And she did. She changed things. She created the first nursing school. She changed hospitals forever. She proved that caring is not weakness, it's power. Florence Nightingale died more than 100 years ago, but her light did not die with her. Her light lives on. It lives on in every nurse who holds a patient's hand in the darkness. It lives on in every person who chooses compassion over comfort. It lives on in every person who believes that things can be different and acts to make it so. So here's my question for you. What lamp are you carrying? What dream burns inside you? What would you fight for, even if people told you it was impossible? That is exactly what Florence teaches us. That's what her life means. Not just a historical figure, but a proof that one person with courage, with belief, with action can change everything. This is the story of Florence Nightingale, a girl who dreamed of caring for others, a girl who became a light in the darkness, a girl who showed the world that compassion is power. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for telling the story again. It's so powerful for us.
Yes, thank you for listening, Hala. And you remember well this story. And even though the story of Florence ends more than 100 years ago, but the story of courage, the story of a girl with a dream, that story is not finished. Hala, because there is a girl here with us today who is living this story right now. Her name is Hala. Hala has finished her first year of medicine in Gaza. She has a dream to be a doctor. She wants to become a doctor, to care for people, to heal. She secured a full scholarship to study in Bangladesh. 6 years, a path forward. But then the borders closed and that scholarship disappeared. So now Hala is here fighting for her dream, fighting to complete her studies, fighting to become the doctor she was meant to be. And she has a story to tell us, a story about a light that would not go out. Hala, will you share that story with us?
Oh, hi everyone. It's me, Hala again. To be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm in front of international storytellers from different parts of the world. It's a great honor for me. So let me start. I didn't know that one day the number of times I was displaced would be greater than the number of years I have lived. The days of the humanitarian pause became the days when we finally could breathe. The days when we tried to find out which of our relatives had been murdered. The days when we searched for news of our neighborhood. Was our home still standing? Were our memories still there? Or had everything turned to dust? I never imagined that having a home or even a shelter to protect us from winter's cold and summer's heat would become a dream. I never imagined that a simple clean water would become a luxury, or that silence would become something I could only remember. I thought floors belonged in history books until I found myself living inside one, page after page, day after day. So let me tell you about a girl named Chiara. The name of my story is The Light That Wouldn't Go Out. This girl, her name means light. Her mother used to say she was named that way because she was born just as the electricity came back on after a long blackout. And the whole street cheered before they even knew it was for a baby and not just a power line. Chiara was born in a place where children often woke up to the sound of sirens instead of bird song. Year after year, the war became part of everyday life. explosions, fear, and uncertainty grow up alongside her, the way other children grow up alongside guardians or pets or grandparents. But there was one thing the war could never take from her: her dream. Yes, Chiara was about to begin the most important year of her life, her final year of high school. She carried hope with her because her older sister had shown her what was possible, graduating as the second highest student in the whole country. Whenever Chiara thought of her, she smiled and whispered to herself before falling asleep, "If she could do it, why can't I? Maybe first place is waiting for me." Since she was a little girl, Chiara had dreamed of becoming a doctor. She wanted to wear the white coat, to ease people's suffering, to save lives, to bring a little hope in rooms full of pain. So she studied with all her heart, every late day, night, every difficult lesson, every small sacrifice brought her one step closer to that dream. And she didn't study alone. I want to take a moment here because I think it matters. I think it matters more than anything else I will say today. Chiara sat in the third row of her classroom between two girls who had been her friends since they were small enough to still believe the sea and the sky touched somewhere just past the last building of their street. There was Nahla, 17 years old, same as Chiara. Nahla had dark, curly hair. She never once managed to keep out of her face, and a laugh so loud the teacher used to pretend to be annoyed by it, though you could see them hiding a smile. She wanted to be an engineer. She used to draw bridges in the margins of her notebooks, not because she was tall, but because she said a good bridge was a promise that people would keep visiting each other. She had a hobbit humming under her breath while she worked, always a little of Kay, and none of her friends ever had the heart to tell her. There was Hannah, also 17, quiet where Nahla was loud, careful was where Nahla was messy. Hanan had a soft, low voice, the kind you had to lean into her. And she used it mostly to make a quiet jokes that landed so obviously everyone would be laughing for. They'd even fully understood why. She wore her hair in a single long thread every single day and kept a small collection of pressed flowers in the back of her school bag. She pressed one from every place she'd ever had to move to, so that, in her words, even if you lose the house, I still have the garden. And there was Rania, 17, like the other two. Rania had a wide, easy smile, freckles across her nose that she complained about and secretly loved. She was the one who always knew the words to every song on the radio and would sing them under her breath during the boring lessons until Chiara or Nahla had to nudge her to stop. She wanted, more than anything else, to be a teacher. She used to say that if she ever got the chance to have her in her classroom, first thing she'd do is let the students choose where to sit, because nobody should have to ask permission to sit next to the best friend. The four of them used to walk home together after school, arguing cheerfully about nothing, whose turn it was to carry the extra curve. Whether Rania singing counted as singing at all, whether Nahla's bridges would ever actually hold up a car. I'm telling you their names today because I don't want them to only exist as a number in a report. Nahla, Hanan, Rania, 17 years old, all three of them, they were my friends. Bless them, just write to them if you can. With a whole life of very ordinary, very beautiful plans still ahead of them. They didn't survive the bombing that struck the neighborhood, but Kiara did. She has told me that some nights she can still hear them exactly as they were. Nahla humming okay, Hanan's quiet jokes landing like small gifts, Rania singing under her playful listen she wasn't paying attention to. She carries them with her the way Hanan carried her pressed flowers, proof that a garden exists even after the house is gone. Then, one morning, everything changed for Kiara too. She woke up thinking about her physics exam. She picked up her school bag, already planning to revise on the walk to school. She had no idea that this ordinary morning would divide her life forever into before the war and after it. Within minutes, her school bag no longer held books. No, it was filled with clothes, identify papers, and the few small things her family could carry. She was no longer preparing for an exam, she was preparing to flee. She didn't know where they were going or whether they would ever come back. The nights that had once been spent studying become nights spent staring at the ceiling of a crowded shelter, asking herself, will I wake up tomorrow? Will I ever become a doctor? Will I survive long enough to chase my dream? As tears filled her eyes, the sound of chilling answered instead. She pulled the blanket over her face and tried to sleep. How could 3 years of hard work disappear in a single morning? How could a girl whose biggest worry had once been getting the highest grades suddenly find herself dreaming only of surviving until sunrise? How could a girl who had just lose the 3 people who knew her best still find a reason to open the textbook? But Kiara refused to let the war write the ending of her story. She came to believe something that I hold into still. Treatments can be delayed, but they cannot be destroyed. So she held on to hope as tightly as she could. And when the chance finally came, she returned her box with a heart stronger than before and heavier too, carrying 3 names inside it that she had promised herself she would never let go quiet. She studied whenever she could, sometimes by candlelight, sometimes surrounded by uncertainty, with the world outside still uncertain and loud. She studied until she achieved an outstanding score of 98% in her final exams. One step closer to studying medicine, one step closer to the white coat she had carried in her heart since she was small. She told me once that when she opened her exam paper, she thought of Nahla's bridges and tried to build her answers the same way, carefully, so that they would hold. She told me she thought of Hanan's flowers and tried to write with the same quiet presence. And she said that on the walk home from her exam, without quite realizing it, she caught herself humming of K the way Nahla used to. Her results didn't only bring her one step closer to medicine. No, they opened an actual door. A university in Bangladesh offered her a full scholarship, tuition, housing, everything. 5 years of exactly the future he had refused to let the war take from her. For a few days, Kiara allowed herself something she had almost forgotten how to do. She allowed herself to hope out loud. She imagined a classroom with no chilling nearby, a library, a desk of her own, but not acceptance letter tells you the whole story of what it costs to walk through a door like that. To leave, her family needed someone to arrange safe passage out through the crossing, coordinators who could get her name onto a list, who could get her family to the border at all. The fee for this was nearly $15,000, not for tuition, not for a flight, just for the right to leave. Word spread. People who had never met Kiara started giving what they could, $5 here, a little more there, trying to close the gap between a girl and her own future. For a while, it looked almost possible. Then, before enough had been raised, the placement was closed. The spot was gone, exactly where the door that had opened for a few days quietly shut again, and Kiara was still exactly where she had always been, brilliant, ready, and stuck. She didn't tell me this part of her story with anger. She told it to me the way she tells most things now, quietly, like someone who has learned to expect a door to stay open, but who keeps walking towards it anyway, in case it does. The word that Kiara listens no classroom ever could. It taught her that a safe home is a blessing, the clean water is a blessing, that a silence is a blessing, that walking to school without fear of a blessing is a blessing, that laughing with her friends is a blessing, that watching children play in the street is a blessing, that exam, ordinary, exhausting, longed for is a blessing, that sleeping through an entire night is a blessing, that having a friend beside you in the third row classroom for even one more year is a blessing beyond anything she knew how to name before she lost it. And she learned something else, something I want every one of you to carry with you today. Starting university at 20 instead of 18 doesn't mean a dream has ended. It simply means the journey took a different route. Because arriving late, it is still arriving. Kiara's story isn't only a story. It belongs to every child whose education has been interrupted by circumstances beyond their control. It belongs to every young person who has had to choose in a single morning between a school bag full of books and a school bag full of survival. And it belongs to Nahla, Hanan, and Rania, these 17-year-olds who should be somewhere today arguing cheerily about nothing and are not. So what has Kiara learned after the past years? Anger, over the past years, anger, desire for revenge. No, she has learning that when a terrifying roadblock looks like you cannot continue on your journey, it simply means your journey has to take a different road because arriving late is still arriving. Kiara's story isn't only her story, it belongs to everyone whose dreams have been interrupted by circumstances beyond their control. Life may delay our path and your path. It may test your courage in ways you never imagined. But if you refuse to let go of hope, refuse to fill your heart will disappear, your dream can still find its way into the light. Thank you for listening.
Hala, thank you so much for telling this incredible story. It's such a tribute to all of the young people who you've known in Gaza. And I just want to say that the relationship between Hala and Manuela, who told the first story, is so significant. The friendship that has built between you. You have coached Hala and supported Hala through the last 5 years, Manuela. It's just incredible. And there are other people in the room, like Lucy Wood, who have also been central to Hala's support from the World Storytelling Cafe. We met Hala together with John Rowe when Hala first came to the World Storytelling Cafe back in 2021. And so many stories you've told us, Hala. I'm just lighting a candle for all of the young people of Gaza and you, Hala, in solidarity and support. Oh, I need to light it again. There. Hala, you sent me that story that you just told, and with your permission, after this program ends, I would like to post the written version of that story on YouTube and on Facebook together with this recording, so people can listen to it and read it again. Is that okay with you, Hala?
Yes,
Because it's such a beautiful story. I think people would really enjoy listening and reading.
thank you. You can.
Thank you. The fundraiser, I've put the fundraiser in the chat. So people who are in the Zoom room, you can see the fundraiser link here. The fundraiser link is also on Facebook and on YouTube. Some people, you're watching this as a recording and everything will be there. If you are watching this as a recording, another thing you can do is you can pause the recording now, and here's a QR code. You can hold up your phone or find a way, and you can use this QR code to get to Hala's fundraiser. And Hala, at the moment, right now, there's a total of £2,839 in your fundraiser, which is great. And let's see if during this live show, but also after this live show, when people are watching the recording, we can really raise that total. So we go beyond the £3,000 limit, not just a little bit, but lots. Let's go right beyond that target, because I know that every penny counts. So however modest or generous your donation, every donation counts wherever you are in the world. And if you can't use that link for whatever reason where you are in the world, just contact me, David Heathfield, and we'll find a way. It's with great pleasure now that I introduce the first of our special guest storytellers. Well, of course, Manuela's a special guest storyteller as well, and that is Seth Townsend. And Seth, thank you so much for all of the support that you're giving to the people of Palestine. Over to you, Seth.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Hala, for that beautiful story, which tells us not to give up on our dreams. And as Manuela said, don't give up. Just keep on following your dream. And that's certainly something that keeping on and not giving up comes in the next story, which your sister Shada told together with you, but she told the story, and I'd like to tell it now. The story is about the word that came up, perseverance. Never give up, persevere. And that's certainly something that the people of Gaza have about them. They persevere. They're never going to give up, and they never will give up. Gaza is one of the oldest continuously populated cities in the world, one of the most ancient cities. And they say of Gaza, Gaza al-Izza, which means Gaza is glorious, or Gaza is mighty, or Gaza is proud. And after all these awful things that have happened there, Gaza al-Izza, Gaza, its people are what Gaza is. Its people are mighty, its people are proud, and its people are glorious. And with that sentiment, I'd like to tell this story that Shada, your sister, told. There was a bird flying in the sky, And the bird flew and flew and flew with its strong wings. What kind of bird was this? It was a crow. And the crow was flying and flying with those strong wings. But even a bird with strong wings gets tired. And this bird, this crow, got thirsty. And as the crow flew, it came across a forest, a beautiful green forest below. And it thought maybe there's some water there. But the forest went on and on and on. And the crow didn't know what to do. And eventually, with so much thirst, the crow thought, I must go down into the forest and see if I can find some water there. And the bird descended and went into all those green trees and started walking along the ground. But a crow doesn't walk. A crow hop, 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 and it hopped around until it saw in the distance something shining, something sparkling. Was this water? And it went closer and closer and saw that it was a glass jug with water in the bottom. And so the crow hopped, 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 hopped over to the glass jug and saw that there was water in the bottom and could see through the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Obviously, it had to go to the top of the jug and put its beak down. But the water was so low, so far in the bottom, and the crow was so thirsty. And the crow thought, how can I get that water? But as Shada says, the crow is of the corvid family, not COVID as the disease. That was her joke. And the corvids, the crows, are very intelligent. And so the crow started to think, what can I do to get to that water? And the crow looked around, and all around there were stones and seeds on the forest floor. So the tired, thirsty crow went over and picked up the first stone and hopped onto the top of the jug and dropped it in, and went to another stone and dropped it in, and to another and another and another and another, and so tired and so thirsty, and the stones, as more stones went in, the stones in the little beak seemed to become even heavier. And the crow knew that it shouldn't give up. The crow knew that it needed to be determined and dropped more stones. Another stone, another seed, another stone, another seed, until slowly, bit by bit, the stones rose and the water rose, and the crow was able to sip from the water, and it drank and drank and drank and drank and drank and drank until it had enough water to satisfy itself, until it was refreshed and it could fly further on its journey. And as Shada said, this tells us that we must never give up. We must be determined. We must persevere. And if that's not what the people of Gaza are doing at this very moment, then I don't know what it is. But let's remember, Gaza is glorious. The people are glorious. Gaza ala Izza. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hala, it was amazing to remember that moment when Shatha told that story together with you live here in the World Storytelling Cafe. Here's a freeze from that moment, and you can see Hala on the right and Shatha on the left. And Shatha's a year older than you, isn't she? And Shatha is also, like you, studying to be a doctor. So thank you so much, Seth. And now we're going to go to Sarah Rundle, and I think you've got another story that Hala told at the World Storytelling Cafe that you're going to share with us, Sarah.
Yes, I have. Can you hear me okay?
Not
No.
really, no.
Buttons, technology, put it right up to the top. Just like Spinal Tap, this one goes to 11.
I think if you move your microphone down from the side of your ear, we will hear you a bit better.
Yeah, how's that?
Much better.
Ah, whoa, right, okay. Oh, I'm going to press more buttons, excuse me. Because otherwise I get deafened. Okay, so can you still hear me?
Yes, we can, Sarah.
Excellent. Right, I have a story about two friends. And one friend was called Hassan, and the other friend was called Samir, and they had been friends since early boyhood. Since they could barely walk, they had toddled around together. They had grown up into young men, and now they were on a journey across a very hot place. Now, traditionally, English people have not really been able to empathize with desert dwellers. But we've just had 4 heat waves in succession, so we know what it is to desperately need water. And Hassan and Samir were traveling across this desert. They each had a bottle of water because they were sensible young men, and they started to drink their water. And Hassan drank a quarter of his water, and Samir drank half of his water. And then they went on for another hour or two, and Hassan drank another quarter of his water, and Samir drank another quarter of his water. And they went on for another couple of hours, and the journey was turning out to be longer than they thought. So when they stopped, they rationed the water. Hassan drank an eighth of his water. Samir drank an eighth of his water. And still, there was no end in sight to their journey. Hassan drank another eighth of his water, and Samir drank another eighth of his water, and Samir's water was entirely used up. And if you've been adding the fractions in your head as you go, this is a very good exercise for teaching fraction addition. You will have worked out that Samir has drunk a half and a quarter and an eighth and an eighth. That is 8 eighths. That is a oneth. That is all of his water. And Hassan has drunk a quarter and a quarter and an eighth and an eighth. He still has a quarter of a bottle. And Samir said to Hassan, "Let me have some of your water." And Hassan said, "No. You've been foolish. You drank half of your water in a gulp. You've sweated it out. You should have been more sensible." And they started to push, and Samir jogged Hassan's elbow, and some of the precious water was spilled. And Hassan was so furious, he swiped at Samir's head. He struck him, and Samir fell to the ground. He fell on the sand, and he stayed there, winded. And then he stayed there a little longer. And with his finger, he wrote in the sand, "Hassan hit." And then he wiped his face, and he got up and he walked, and they walked for another 3 hours, thirsty, tired, disorientated from the heat. And then ahead of them, they saw an oasis. They saw water. And they didn't quite know whether it was a mirage, whether it was the effect of the heat, of the light refracting from layers of hot air. But as they got closer, they could see palm trees. It was water. And they started to stumble towards the water. And Samir, who was more desperate, who was more thirsty, he ran, he jumped off a rock into that cold, refreshing water. But as he jumped, the water shocked his body. He involuntarily gasped and swallowed water, and he disappeared underneath the surface. Hassan did not hesitate. He jumped in. He dived under. He grabbed Hassan by his collar. He hauled him out. He hauled him to the surface. He jumped on his stomach. He pushed the water out of his lungs. And again, Samir was lying on the ground, gasping. And when he had come to himself, he found his pocket knife, and into the rock he carved, "Hassan saved my life." And Hassan said, "Why did you do that? You wrote Hassan hit me back in the desert, and now you've written Hassan saved my life. Why have you done this?" And Samir said, "When someone does you wrong, you write it in the sand so that the wind will brush it away, it will be forgotten. When someone does something good for you, you etch it in stone so that it will always be remembered. So let your grievances go away. Hold on to what is good." And this actually reminded me of a poem. It's not quite the same, but it's like a poem by a man called William Blake, who's the nearest we've got in England to a Sufi poet. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read you a poem by William Blake. I press a button, the magic of computers, here it comes. And the poem is called A Poison Tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. So that's a, oh, where have you gone? That's a slightly more miserable poem because it doesn't end happily. It ends with someone who kind of kept hold of their anger, and it turned into poison and ended up, destroying their enemy. And in a way, destroying the soul of the person who did the hating. So thank you very much, Hala, for telling that story in the beginning, and thank you for letting me share it.
Hala, would you like to say something?
Thank you for sharing the story in your own way. It's so good to hear it from you. Thank you. It's
Wonderful. Manuela.
Yes, David. I'm very pleased and honored to be presenting Jackie as our next storyteller. And when I think of Jackie, I think of how storytellers find each other across borders, languages and time zones, and we recognize each other. We know we're woven together by something that matters. And Jackie, she carries the land in her voice, the Doric, the knowledge of trees and animals, and that heritage, not from books, but from living it. So today, I think Jackie is going to tell us The Dog in the Hall of Mirrors, a story that Hala and I worked on together, and that Hala took to the World Storytelling Cafe. This story has traveled from Gaza to the world, and now Jackie is bringing it home to us. And that's the power of storytelling communities. That's what moves me most. How stories travel, how voices connect across impossible distances. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you for being here, for carrying this story, and for believing that voices matter. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Manuela. And I see you've got earrings specially for this story today.
Yes.
Yeah. But mostly I want to thank, oh, yes, they've got mirrors. I just want to thank Hala for all the wonderful stories she has shared with us. And, you know, I tell many of these stories, but it gives me great pleasure to tell the dog and the mirrors, the Hall of Mirrors.
Thank you.
I'm not doing it in Doric today. I'm going to try and tell it in the words of Hala, because I think she is a poet and her words are beautiful.
Thank you.
Once, not twice, not 3 times, but once upon a time, there was a dog, an ordinary dog, curious, lively, full of life. One day, that dog wandered into a museum, but not just any museum. Oh no, it was a museum made of mirrors. There were mirrors on the roof, mirrors on the walls, mirrors on the floor. There were even mirrors on the doors. Everywhere the dog looked, there were mirrors. Yes, mirrors everywhere, shining, gleaming, dazzling. The dog took one careful step and stopped. He saw another dog, and another, and another, a whole pack of dogs. The dog growled. Grrr. He showed his teeth. The dog barked. And guess what? The other dogs did the same. He jumped forward. They jumped forward. He leapt back. They leapt back. He went round and round and round that room, barking and growling and showing his teeth. And everywhere, the same angry face followed him. The dog barked and barked and barked. He tried to scare them away, but they stayed. He barked louder. They barked louder. All through the night, barking and barking, until there was silence. In the morning, the museum guard opened the door, and there, on the shining mirrored floor, lay the poor, lifeless dog, still, surrounded by hundreds of reflections of himself. No one had hurt him. No one had chased him. He had been angry only with himself. And that, dear friends, is the story of the dog and the Hall of Mirrors told by Hala. But she asked us a question too. What do you see when you look at the world? She told us that the world will not bring you good or bad on its own. Everything you see, everything you feel, everything you do is reflected right back to you. The world is nothing but a great shining mirror. So when you stand before it, stand carefully, stand kindly, stand wisely, and remember, what you see is what you bring. Hala, I can't believe how much strength and courage you bring. Thank you so much for these wise words and all the wonderful stories that you tell. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so beautiful to hear the story again from you. Thank you. Really, it makes a lot.
My pleasure, Hala.
It does mean a lot when people tell stories back that you've told yourself. I want to just acknowledge that all of the storytellers in the room today are storytellers who have made a choice to listen to the words of children in Gaza, to listen to their stories, and to retell their stories. And I want to acknowledge that Jackie Ross has retold so many of the stories told by Hala and other young people in Gaza as part of the project. Hanin Khaled Jadala and I run Tell a Child in Gaza's Tale. I've told a lot of them too. And all of you here in the room and people listening, if you haven't told a story before from a child in Gaza, then there's plenty of time. This project is ongoing. It's entirely voluntary. And if you would like to retell one of the children's stories, just find one on the playlist or get in touch with me and I'll guide you. Thank you, Jackie. And now from the north of Scotland to Wales. And thank you, Kath Little, for being here with us to share another of Hala's stories.
Thank you, Franz, and thank you, Hala, for your story. I'm going to retell the story that you heard from your grandmother. Water is for water, milk is for milk. Once upon a time, there was a man, a good man, who made a living from selling milk. The milk he sold, the milk he got from his dear cows was so good, so pure, so rich and creamy. Everyone loved to buy the milk. At market, there were queues and queues of people longing to buy the milk from the good milkman. But one day the milkman began to think and wish. He looked around himself and saw that some of his neighbours had more than he had. Some had carts and donkeys to carry their goods, whereas he had to carry the milk churns by hand. If only I had more money, thought the milkman. How can I get more money? Well, that was when he had an idea. What do you think he thought? A way to get more money from the milk he sold? He decided to water it down. I know. He went to the river in the middle of the night, filled a pail of clear river water, and then added the water to the milk churns, half water, half milk. And now he had 2 full churns, but not of creamy rich milk, of watered down milk. Next day he went to the market, and as usual there were a crowd of people waiting for his good rich milk. They trusted him. He was an honest milkman. Well, at the end of the day, he'd sold all that watered down milk and he'd made lots of money. He'd made double the money that he usually made. Usually he made around 50 coins, but that day he made 100. Well, he was very pleased with himself. That's the way to earn money, he thought, and he made his way home. On the way home, it was a hot day, so he decided to shelter under a tree. He closed his eyes and slept for a while, had a nap under the tree on the riverbank. But in that tree was a mischievous, curious monkey. The monkey hopped down from the tree, danced down from the tree, and picked up the purse of coins, the milkman's money. The milkman woke up, of course he did. "Give me back my money," he said, but the monkey did not. The curious monkey, the clever monkey, the mischievous monkey opened up the purse and began to scatter the coins. Some here, some there, some to the milkman, and some of the coins he threw in the water. He threw them in the river. "Give me back my money," said the milkman, but the monkey did not. Some to the water, some to the ground, until all the money was gone. The monkey threw down the purse and off he scampered, laughing. The milkman, he gathered the money that was left on the ground and counted it. What do you think he found? How many do you think he counted? 50 coins. 50 coins. Half of that money, his profits, had all ended up in the river. And he was left with the money he would have had if he had been honest. Oh, that milkman. He he realised the monkey knew better than him. And he smiled. He smiled to himself because he knew that the money, water is for water and milk is for milk. You know, he never ever, after that day, cheated on his customers. He always gave them good, pure, rich milk. And if he was ever tempted to cheat again, which he never was, he would remember and laugh about the monkey who taught him, Maya, Maya, leben, leben. Milk is milk and water is water. And that's the story. Shukran ya Hala. Thank you, Hala, for telling us that very wise story.
Thank you for the development. Your way in telling the story is so beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I love your way, your wisdom and your grace, and you are such a good storyteller. I love hearing you.
Thank you.
Well, Hala, you are a teacher indeed. And one of the ways you've taught us, and you continue to teach us, is not just through your speaking of stories, but also your writing of stories. And people, including Lucy here in the room, were behind a project to help you get your words out to the world through a book, which was published last year. Gaza Girl, Hala. The Gaza Diaries 2024 and 2025. And it really is one of the most beautiful books I've written. A book full of, again, words you've used, grace, wisdom, poetry, power, resilience, strength, courage, beauty. All words I associate with your creativity, Hala. And everywhere I go, I do a lot of fundraising and awareness raising events. I bring copies and they get snapped up. People love to buy copies and people come back and buy more because they want to give them as gifts. So I'm going to read a chapter, a short chapter from your book, Hala, and I'm just going to put in the chat the link where you can order the book for a minimum donation of £5. So you can get this book yourself and get extra copies if you've already got one that you can give away, because it's just beautiful. And wherever I open this book, there's wisdom, but I've opened it today at chapter 15, Hala. And I think it's interesting because it's written about August 2024. And now we're in August 2026. And it's interesting to see the trajectory. You write, don't plan too much. Life has its own plan for you. I planned a lot for August the 29th, 2024. I live in a country that witnessed a war unexpected from me as a student in my most important academic year. I was about to take my high school exams. An enthusiastic student, eager to reap the fruits of 12 years of study, to study what I dreamed of at university. Dreams, hopes, attempt, stumbling, falling, failure, retrying, and finally, success. I dreamed of all of this, planned for it, and was well prepared. My summer vacation wasn't as beautiful as I'd planned. I planned the vacation to enjoy it. I faced difficult days. It wasn't my first experience in my family. I watched my sisters stumble before me, and their attempts were amazingly successful. I dreamed that my experience with her experiences would be better. I dreamed and I made her success my motivation. But none of my dreams came true. My hopes were dashed. My life was on hold. My feet and hands were shackled. I tried, but I was locked in a prison. Here I am today writing a book instead of planning for college. Instead of buying clothes, I receive the blessings of my planned success. That's life. And you accompany this chapter, as with so many, with photographs that you took at that time. And here is a photograph showing some of the devastation, and I think your own hand.
Yes, thank you for telling this chapter. And that's, yes, that's my hand when we returned to north of Gaza after the first, when they said that war is ended, before it returned again. In this picture, it's the way to return to north of Gaza. We returned to our home in Jabalia, but then when war returned, we left our home there, and now occupation there in Jabalia, in our neighborhood, they make it just sand, no homes there, no anything of our homes in our neighborhood there. There's nothing, just occupation there. We can't return, make our tents there, or even just go to our land. Just we are here in the south, we are displaced again, and we don't know until when we will stay at the same time, but hope news will be okay, maybe, inshallah.
Inshallah. And Hala, at that time you talked about you were stuck, shackled, you couldn't go forward. And yet, in spite of, you managed to continue, you managed to study, you've got an incredible grade last December in your end of school exams. I think you got 98%. You managed to start studying medicine just on your phone, I think, inside Gaza.
Yes,
and
online.
You're going forward even though it's incredibly difficult, and you need to be able to study medicine outside of Gaza to get a real medical, medical degree experience. But you are somehow doing it in spite of everything, and that's a huge achievement.
Thank you. Hope so. I applied for many scholarships. I refused in some. When I get acceptance in Bangladesh, then because border didn't opened yet, just some injured people who can travel from Gaza. Then I couldn't go to my scholarship. It was a full scholarship for medicine, but لعله خير يعني إن شاء الله things will be better. I'm studying here at the same time. I didn't stop even if everything will be okay, but I'm at my stage now. I just do what I can, what is possible for me.
And I know that now, because they say the war is over, although that's a kind of myth, that you have to now pay your full fees again for your studies, and that's incredibly difficult because your family circumstances. So anything we're raising now is helping you to continue your medical studies and trying to build towards and what we can do as a community to help you achieve your dreams and hopefully, inshallah, before long, study outside of Gaza. Well, I'm going to introduce our next storyteller now, and it's Michael O'Leary. So, Michael, please tell us another story that we delightfully have learned from Hala.
Yes, I heard it from Hala, who heard it from someone else, who heard it from someone else, who heard it from someone else. They bounce around, these stories, don't they? And this is a story about Joha. sometimes known as Nasruddin and sometimes the Hodja. And one day he was working away. Hang on, my working gear. I better put on my working clothes. This is a story about clothes, you see. This has got to be seen. And he was digging away and digging away, and then he probably had a pneumatic drill. And then he had a message came through. Oh, hang on, here it is. What's going on? He had an invitation to go and eat with the big man, the important man, the man who runs everything. Yeah. So he looked at the time. I've got to go now. And so off he went in his working gear. And he came to the big house, and the big man's house, and the important man's house, and he went inside. Now, I don't know whether they sitting round a table on chairs, were they sitting cross-legged on the floor with a mat between them? I don't know. But they were having a very grand meal, and they were all dressed in their wonderful clothes. And there was Johar in his working clothes, and they glanced at him briefly, and they looked at him, here's an English phrase, but they looked at him as if they had a bad smell underneath their nose. Oh. And they made no space for him. If they were sitting on chairs, there was no chair for him. If they were sitting cross-legged on the floor, there's no space around the mat. And so he left. And he went home, and he had a wash, and he put on his fine clothes. He put on his kaftan. I haven't got a kaftan, so I can't put one on. But just imagine it with its long, dangly sleeves. And then he went back to the big man's house, the important man, the great man. And he went inside, and he said, here's a seat for you. Here's a place for you. And so he sat down, and he reached for some food, and the long sleeve dangled in the soup. And they said, Johar, your sleeve is in the soup. It's dangling in the soup. And he said, yes, of course it is. But I'm giving the soup to my sleeve because I wasn't invited here. My clothes were invited here. And there you are. I suppose you could say that the moral of the story is you don't judge a person by the clothes that they wear. Or in my case, you could say that the moral of the story is if you're going to eat soup, don't have long dangly sleeves because they'll get wet, won't they? And as for clothes, well, you know what I really want to see? I want to see Hala dressed in the white coat of a doctor, maybe with a stethoscope around her neck, because then, well, she's on the way to being one of those people who is a healer, one of those, a medic, the people we need, the people who, I can't express it really, but amidst all destruction, there are those people who will heal, aren't there? And they're the people I applaud. So the best wishes to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
us here.
I told this story before, though. So when I was in my school, so it's so good for me to remember these days before war came. So it's nice. Thank you for remembering me this story.
Thank you.
Manuela, are you going to introduce our next storyteller?
Yes, David, I am. And storytelling runs in families. It's in the blood. And this storyteller carries that with her grandmother's gift alive in her. Evita storyteller. And she's done something I recognize, something I love. She's made it her own. And I see myself in Evita's commitment, that refusal to let storytelling die, that belief that every story, every connection matters. So thank you, Evita, for being here with us. And today, I believe you're going to tell us Hala's version of the old man and the young man on the train. So thank you once again for keeping the flame alive and for being here. Evita, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Shukran, Hala. I had to choose which story do I like best. And Jackie already told one of my favorites, but then I thought, what story would be more fitting for a future doctor in here than the one I'm about to tell? And thank you for all your stories. You amaze me. Ladies and gentlemen, the train to Hala's future departs from platform 1. If you don't have a ticket yet, you can still get one by going to the donation link. All aboard, all aboard, all aboard. Sabal khair, sabal khair, sabal khair. An old man and his 25-year-old son boarded a train. They were happy. They found a seat next to the window. You know those trains where you can still open the window? And the son sat there and the train chugged out of the station. The young man reached his hand out the window and tickled the air. He smiled. His father smiled too. And suddenly he gave a shout. Baba, Baba, look, the trees are running after us. The old man smiled at his son's joy. There was a couple that sat next to them. They looked over at the young man. They looked at each other. They were embarrassed. They whispered, why would a grown man behave in such a childlike manner? They looked away. Chaka, 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 chaka. The train went on. Chaka, 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 chaka.
Oh.
Suddenly, the young man shouted, Baba, Baba, a pond, and it's got animals on it, look. The couple looked over again. They shook their heads. They didn't know how to behave this. Chaka, 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 chaka. The train went on. The young man screamed with joy every day. Oh, wow, amazing! And it began to rain. Now the young man got really quiet, put his hand out, and the raindrops landed on his hands on both sides. And he shouted, throwing his head back in laughter, Baba, Baba, look! Raindrops on my hands. And said, the old man, listen, old man, why don't you take your son to a hospital where they can help him? The old man put his hand to his chest and bowed and said, you know something? My son and I have just come back from the hospital. My son has just had an operation on his eyes. And today is the first time he can see. And Hala tells us, don't jump to conclusions. Don't judge before you have the full story. Alhamdulillah, 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 alhamdulillah. Shukran jazilan, Hala.
Shukran. Shukran. Um, Nice to hear. It's the first time for me to hear you tell a story. MashaAllah, your way is so beautiful. And really, thank you for telling my story. It's a great honor for me to hear my story. My stories just from international storytellers all around the world. It's make me just proud of myself. Thank you.
Afwan, Habibati, Afwan.
Absolutely, Hala. It must be an incredible feeling to you know that people around the world have heard your stories, but now you're living it. You're hearing people who have heard you tell stories, and they're so grateful and so appreciative that we want to tell them in your name. And that's what's happening. That's what we're doing. And our final storyteller for this session is none other than Rona Barber. And Rona has chosen to tell a story today that I feel a beautiful way to round off our session. So Rona, would you tell us the story that you've prepared?
Thank you, David. I'd be delighted to. I'm delighted to be part of this, Hala. You are such a brave, strong young woman. I am in awe, absolutely in awe. And you're very beautiful. You have a wonderful voice. You've got it all. You're the whole package. You're going to go a very long way. Trust me, you are. So I'm going to tell a story that you told about the bridge. And it's not just any bridge. This is a story about two shepherds who had been friends since childhood. They shared everything. If one had more food than the other, they shared to make it equal. They told each other stories. There was nothing about any of these two young men that you could say was, going to cause any problem at any time in the future. They had never had a crossword, and normally young friends do occasionally fall out. These two never had. Now they were grown men. Now they had their own families. Now they had responsibilities. So it was a very different time for something like this to happen, when they had a fallout. Because one of the little lambs, according to one of the shepherds, had strayed onto his flock, and he was claiming it back. And he said, no, that's why, how could that possibly be your lamb if it's following its mother, who's one of my sheep? Oh no, he wasn't having it. They were furious, they fought, they almost came to fistfights. And it was just a ridiculous argument for the sake of one little lamb. But no, they didn't speak again for a very long time. The relationship was so strained because they came together quite often, but they ignored each other, they never spoke. And it was very, very sad, because the families weren't allowed to speak to each other either. So children that had played together for years were told not to even speak to each other. It was a terrible situation. Until one day, a stranger came across them. And the shepherd, who lived on the left-hand side of the field, saw him and spoke to him. And he said he was looking for work. And he said, well, I've got a job for you if you don't mind. I have quite a lot of spare wood, and I would like you to build a fence so that he can't come over here. And the carpenter, because that's what he was, my grandfather was a carpenter, he said, well, what's the problem? He said, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't want to discuss it, I just want to tell you, I don't even want to see his face, so please build me a fence. Well, it obviously was something that he didn't really want to do, but he needed the work, he needed the money. So he said yes, he would. And when the shepherd went to sleep that night, he could hear all this banging and sawing and battering. And he was smiling away to himself, thinking, yes, he's in for a shock tomorrow morning. But the other shepherd could hear all this banging and battering and sawing as well. And he had no idea what was going on. Once or twice he was tempted to rise, but they're very early risers anyway, as you know. So he didn't. But the next morning, the shepherd who had got the carpenter to build the fence, he went out first and he didn't see a fence. What he saw was a bridge, and he was furious. He says, I didn't ask you to build a bridge. And the carpenter said, I know. You asked me to build a fence, but you didn't need a fence. You needed a bridge. And at that point, the other shepherd was making his way across the bridge, and he assumed, sometimes assumptions work out well, he assumed that the shepherd had asked for the bridge to be built, and he threw his arms around him and he said, I am so sorry. I think it was my fault that we had the fallout. And the other shepherd said, no, it was my fault. He says, is that why you asked him to build the bridge? He says, I didn't ask him to build a bridge. I asked him to build a fence. But he has got more brains than both of us put together, because he knew that what we needed was not a fence, it was a bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hala, you're a bridge builder.
Oh, sorry.
Go on, Hala. Hala, did you want to say something more, Hala?
I said thank you for her to tell the story and remember me this story.
It's a wonderful story, and I loved your version of it. But you know, I can't help myself, Hala. The minute I start storytelling, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. So I had the plan to tell the story as David had sent it to me, and it just went away in my head, and that's the way it's come out. So
that's what storytelling is. It comes in one way and comes out another. Beautifully retold. Well, there are other people here in the room. Sue Piper, Mechthild Lear in Germany, who have also learned stories from Hala and other young people from Palestine. And there are some people in the room who, let's say, haven't yet told a story that you've learned from Hala. Another person who's told stories from Hala, of course, is my wife, Tammy, who's here with the same name as me, David Heathfield. So there's so many of us, but more and more of you can learn stories from Hala and other young people and retell the stories in their names. It's not just an act of solidarity, it's a call for change, a call. Seth, could you say it again, because I haven't got the words. Could you say those words again you said earlier? Just turn on your microphone.
You mean the words that mean Gaza is glorious, Gaza the proud?
Yes, please.
It's quite easy to say.
Can you teach us all? Can we all turn on our microphones?
So, we say Gaza, but they say Gaza.
Gaza.
Gaza ala Izza.
Ala Izza.
Gaza ala
Izza.
Again, Gaza ala Izza.
Gaza ala
Izza.
And can you say it for us, please, Hala?
Gaza al-Izza. We say
Oh, so how did everybody do?
Good, very good. Really.
Shall we do it one more time for you?
Yes.
Raza Laizza. Let's hear it.
Hazza Lisa.
Lisa.
It sounds a bit like hasta la vista.
Well,
Yes.
Well, it does mean I'll be back.
Does it? Oh, wow. I never knew
I'm
that.
just going to ask Lucy if you would like to say a couple of words, because Lucy, you've been a close friend to Hala all the way through and continue to offer support, and you indeed are the host of Hala's fundraiser, which we're supporting today.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the video. Yeah, I would love to just tell you, if it's not too embarrassing for Hala, just to tell you a little bit about her. So I've been chatting mostly on WhatsApp to Hala throughout the war, a little bit before. We actually met when Hala, I think, thought that I was a storyteller on the World Storytelling Cafe, and she asked me if I could be a mentor to her because she was going to tell her first story on the site. And I said, no, 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 don't ask me. I'm not going to be a good mentor for you because I am not a storyteller. And she persisted and said, yes, yeah, no, I'd really like you to be my mentor for this. And so very reluctantly, I said, okay, you're not going to be getting great quality. But anyway, it was a total delight because she wanted to tell a story that incorporated cooking, traditional cooking, grandma's recipes, mum's recipes. And so we ended up having a really lovely time. And she was so careful and detail oriented that it's made me think, oh, she's going to be an amazing doctor if she's got these qualities. The other qualities that I've seen in her throughout my time knowing her is that she has such kindness for those people around her. So she's had to move, as she's told you, so many times from place to place to place. And each time she's had to witness so many awful things happening to neighbors or people around her. And yet she's always thinking of them. She's always thinking about the friends and family who've passed away and the lives that have been lost. She's got huge empathy for all those people. And she's so conscientious. She works and works and works. Sometimes she's been studying when there's been bombs going off around her, and the neighbor's house was destroyed while she was studying. And yet she has had such determination to carry on. You know, I don't know many people who have got the determination that she's got. And I know that part of her determination comes from the love that she's had for her friends and family members who've sadly lost their lives. It's almost as if the hope for them and their dreams, it's almost like she's carrying that within her soul so that she can be the very best doctor that she possibly can be to honor their names. So the fundraiser GoFundMe has done pretty well, but it needs to go an awful lot further. We could have actually, if we'd reached our target, there's a possibility that she could have been starting study in Bangladesh in September. But unfortunately, the scholarship disappeared. I have no idea if it's possible for it to be resurrected if we were to raise enough money. It would need to be £15,000, which is the coordinator's fee. I don't know that it's possible, speaking to some people, maybe we could do that. But even if not, she needs the money to be able to pay for the university and also for food and accommodation and just general living expenses. She needs that. So I hope that everybody will be as generous as they possibly can be for Hala. She really deserves this, and I can't wait to see her wearing that white coat that Mikio, Mike, I think you are,
Yeah.
was describing. So we can all just really have so much pride in seeing how this wonderful young woman is developing and hopefully will reach her dream.
Thank you, Lucy. On a very practical note, what Lucy is just saying about raising money, there are things that we can do, people who are in the room and people who are watching on Facebook and YouTube. And the thing you can do is you can share this recording. And it's not like most of the recordings from the World Storytelling Cafe, because this is a fundraiser that's incredibly important and meaningful. So please share this recording and put it out there on social media, but also invite specific people that you know and say, just tell them Hala's story. And when they hear it and they watch this, they will be moved to donate a little or a lot, depending on what you can afford. It's really, you're making a huge difference to Hala's future. So please do donate. We've already gone beyond the £3,000 mark while we are on air, which is fantastic. We can do much more if all of us just share this link, this fundraiser link. And I'm just going to put it up again as a QR code. So if you're watching this, you can pause the recording. I don't want it to catch on fire. You can pause the recording. You can somehow use this QR code to get to the link, but the link should also be on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you so much.
The link was not in full frame.
Say that again, Babasi.
The link was not in full frame. You only shown about 3/4 of it. Hold it up.
Okay, I'll do it again.
I think it is in some on computers, but
Yes.
maybe not on.
No, that's it.
Okay. So we come to the end. I'm going to say, before we hear from thank you by the way, Dayang, who's here all the way from Malaysia. Fantastic you're here with us, Dayang. Wonderful to see you. And could everybody just turn on your microphones? That's everybody who's in the Zoom room, and just say a word or two to Hala. We might all be speaking at once, that's okay, but say a word or two to Hala, and then we'll let Hala have the last word before we end the recording. So listen to everyone's greetings, Hala, and then you can respond.
By the grace, may your dreams never
Shukran,
be.
Look, Hala.
Thank you.
We love Hala.
Shukran, Hala.
Kindness is a currency, Hala. Kindness is a currency. Spend it wisely and it will come back to you.
Take care, Hala.
Congratulations, kiddo. You're going to go far.
Zwina Bazaf.
Yes. Fantastic.
Mashallah.
Inshallah.
Give our best to Shatha as well.
Yeah.
Hala, would
Thank
you like
you.
to speak to close our meeting?
Yes, thank you all for being here. I want to thank everyone who told a story from my stories. I want to thank Manuela for telling Florence's story. I want to thank Mr. Steph to tell my sister's story, the first call, and Sarah for the sand and stone, and Jackie for the dog in the hall of mirrors, and Cat for milk, and water is for water. And sure, Mr. David, because you all always support us here in Gaza, Palestine, for telling a chapter of my book. It's an honor for me. Thank you so much. And thanks for your wife to being here today. Thank you. And to Mike for telling Jaha and the slave, and Evet to tell the old man and the man on the train, and Drona for telling the bridge. Thank you all.
Well done, kiddo.
Shukran.
And can I say, Hala, that I know that all of the people who've told stories today have made a really big difference to you, and that all of these stories that you're going to be able to bring forward and share, all of these stories are going to go around the world now, further and further. And each story contains wisdom within it. And this wisdom is being shared because of you and the courage that you have had, even though sometimes you have a little bit of shyness, which is totally normal in a young person. You've been able to overcome your shyness and to be courageous and such a strong person. Just think of all the ripples that are going out, not just from today, but from previous events, but particularly from today and from your beautiful book. The ripples are going to spread throughout the world and hopefully do something to bring a little bit of peace to the world. So thank you to Hala, and thank you to David as well, and Manuela for hosting as well today, and being such huge supporters.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Lucy, for thank you, Lucy, for all support you gave to us, me and my family, all the time.
Oh,
Do
that's a
thank
pleasure.
you.
That's a pleasure. You enrich my life.
Lovely. Beautiful.
David, you're muted. David, you're muted.
I just said thank you again, shukran, and walid in Morocco. Maybe this is the right moment to say thank you to you for hosting and please end the meeting. Thank you very much. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Onana Bakahanana. Until we meet again.
Hi, Babasi.
Rona!
Hello.
Real quick before you disappear, does Louis know? Did Louis sell you the San Francisco Bridge?
No.
Because
Oh,
lately his has been a planet, so I say he's out of this world.
Oh, well, the next time I'm on, I'll ask him.
All right.
See ya. Lots of love.
See you. I
Bye.
think of you often.
Oh, thank you. Good, I hope.
Yes,
In
good
a
thoughts,
good
of
way.
course.
Who could ever think of Rona without thinking good thoughts?
See, and Lucy, I think of
It's
you
a nice
often
thing
too.
to say, Lucy.
Oh,
That's
thank
lovely.
you.
I
Great to see you.
can't believe how much you're really responsible for this, Lucy, because you have supported that kid. Do you know what I mean? From the
No,
word
well,
go.
she is such a persistent and kind of resourceful person. She doesn't just have me, she has many, many people who have supported her. Some of them have fallen away over the
Over
months and
time, yeah.
years. But she has a team around her. So, sometimes I'm not around, but I don't worry about her because there's always
Well, that's good.
somebody
Yeah, somebody there
always
to pick up.
somebody
Yeah.
there. Yeah, she's been that's been I think she's going to be an amazing doctor because she's really good at so many different aspects, non-clinical things as well as
Yes.
having
Yeah.
a super brain.
Yeah.
Her
But
dad has
also,
a PhD and her mum in engineering, and her mum is or was a college teacher. So she's got a lot of sort of structure there.
yeah,
It's
of
sort of
course.
in a family who really value studying and education.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's the way out of poverty a lot of the time for people, and they'll be in poverty now, even if they weren't before.
Yes.
You know, with what's happened with the war, and you know,
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
inevitable.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are. I mean, one thing she didn't mention, and I I wasn't sure if it would be distressing to bring it up, but we raised enough money for her to escape. Um,
Oh,
and she actually did get to the border with her mum, her three sisters, and two brothers.
yes.
And then when they were at the border, they had enough money. We'd raised enough money for it, so they were going through. But then the guy at the gate said everyone can go through, but not the 16-year-old brother. And so they had a real dilemma.
No.
And at that moment when they were at the gate, they got a call from Hala's cousin, who had been airlifted over to, I think it was Saudi Arabia or somewhere where she could go to hospital with her 5 kids. And while she was in hospital with her 5 kids, her husband was murdered, was killed. And so she hearing that they had this dilemma of, do we leave Timor behind, or do we just go through and save all
Oh
of
my
us?
God,
The
what a decision.
cousin said, do not leave him. Do not leave him, because I regret
Don't
leaving
know
my
what will happen
husband.
to him. Yeah.
And so they didn't. They went back. They had a house in Egypt that they were going to go to, but they went back home. But Hala didn't tell me this. I was waiting for her. I was with a group of people who'd been fundraising for her, and we were all waiting to hear that she was there. And she sent me a message saying, "Hooray, we're in Egypt, we're free." And so me and this group of ladies, we were all celebrating and singing, and we were just so full of happiness for her,
Of course,
relief.
yes.
And then
Turns out they
she
hadn't got
told
through.
me 2 days later that she couldn't bear to
To
she
tell
couldn't
you that
bear
she,
to tell me
oh
that she
my
hadn't.
God.
And she thought that, okay, she knew she was telling me a lie, but she thought that that lie would become a truth the next day, because
Oh,
she thought the next day they'd be able to go through with Timor. And then the very next day, they shut the border door
I
closed.
just could not believe that. I thought,
Yeah,
my God,
yeah,
that's horrific. Oh,
horrible.
the poor
Yeah,
family is awful.
yeah. And now she's
Hala
got the
reminds
regret.
me. Hala reminds me of the spirit of many great African American women who
Yeah,
refused to give up despite the face of adversity.
yeah.
From Harriet Tubman to Michelle Obama, from Rosa Parks to, I mean, there's just so many going through my head right now.
Josephine
Even Maya
Baker.
Angelou, you know.
Josephine. Don't forget Josephine.
Oh no, I was
Forget
getting there.
fast.
Yeah.
I cannot forget Joseph. Lucy, let me tell you real quick. I know we gotta let
That was
Wally
a
go, but let
lady
me tell
on
you
the
real quick.
bus, wasn't it,
Every time,
Clive?
say again.
That was a lady on the bus, wasn't it, Josephine Baker?
No, Rosa
Oh,
Parks
that
was the
was
lady on the
that
bus.
was yeah.
Josephine Baker was the African American actress, singer, dancer, advocate that left the United States because
Yes.
she couldn't perform before
Spy.
the segregated audience. Went to France, took France by storm. They gave
Yes.
her 2, not 1, but 2
Awesome.
honors that I don't think women had gotten before. And but she's great, and I stay in the home where she lived when she was in Marrakesh at the Riyadh Star. So, and they have this wonderful room of photos and costumes and boas and top
Rona's
hats.
been there.
I've been
Oh,
there, yeah.
I know, but see,
I
that's
didn't
how
know that
excited
she
I
had
get.
been there, no.
Yes, but that's how excited I get when I think of it, and I
Mhm.
share it with a lot of people. And sometimes when I'm doing my own program, I'll mention it, and I see the looks on people's face. I said, if you don't know her, Google now, because yeah, that whole spirit of not giving up. And anyhow, I'm just so
Listen, I'm
happy.
full of that. I'm full of that spirit at the moment because, Lucy, I have to tell you this. The reason why I haven't reserved my place properly in January is because my son is very, very ill.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah.
keep him in prayer.
Oh.
He's very,
Oh
very ill.
really?
He's this is Stephen, the one who's got learning difficulties.
Yeah.
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 He had bowel cancer, and
Oh no.
they operated on him and they got that away. But then when they did further tests and things, it had spread to his liver,
Oh.
and
Oh.
it's
As a
So
terrible.
cancer survivor myself,
Oh, I
I can
know. So am I,
understand.
twice.
All
I
right.
am as well, Babasi. But I said to the doctor, I said, you have to tell me there must be something that you can do. And he
yeah.
said, I wish I could. He says, what we can do is pray. So I
Oh
didn't want to hear that, but
no.
that's
Well,
what I've done. But also, miracles do happen. I've got that purple thing on my sideboard and I look at it every morning. Miracles do happen.
Mm.
So I'm
Rona,
hoping for a miracle, but yeah.
Rona,
Yes, dear.
here in Washington, D.C.,
Uh-huh.
across the river in what everyone calls Anacostia, but not all Southeast D.C. is Anacostia, there was a girl, she was in elementary school, and she had cancer. And the doctors had done everything. They'd even put her on experimental drugs and stuff like that, and the cancer was spreading, and they said there's nothing more we can do for her. And so the people in the room, I think it was her parents at first, said, well, then we'll pray. And her church found out about it, and other churches found out about it. Now, mind you, the cancer was not responding to treatment, and the doctors both said, oh, poo-hoo, prayer. They prayed, and they prayed, and they prayed, and the next time she went in for a physical, the cancer was gone.
Oh my God.
Then the
Wow.
doctors want to say, well, the treatment kicked in.
Yeah,
No, it was
I
the
have
prayer.
heard. Yeah, I have
It was
heard
the
other
prayer.
stories. Yeah, I've heard other stories of that.
Yes.
Even before my son being ill, I had heard of these things happening in the past. And I mean, I have faith myself anyway. I am a believer. That's why I get so damned angry at him sometimes. I mean, it's only 17 months since my other son died,
Yeah.
Babs. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just feels like, hello, what more are you going to throw down here? Take some of it back.
Yeah.
So,
Rona,
um,
one way or the other, however it resolves, know that you're loved and you're surrounded by people who love and respect you. And that may not feel like much comfort, but I'm going to tell you, it makes a big difference. It really does.
Mm.
well, maybe
When I
people
was,
will help me with praying then and say a prayer for my boy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But keep us abreast.
And
And
there's some hospitals where they're doing medical trials.
Yeah.
I was listening to this on a podcast, and I think it's is it Guy's Hospital or St Thomas's? It's either one or the
They're
other.
both in London, yeah. I could
Yeah,
find out.
it used to be called the Hospital for the Incurables, whichever one of those it is.
Oh gosh, what a name
And
for a hospital.
yeah, no, a horrible name, isn't it?
Oh
But
dear.
apparently what they're doing is you have, and I don't know how easy it is to get onto a trial, but they take some of the cancerous growth and they send it to America. I think it's to Washington actually. They send it to this machine that they have
probably
in Washington,
NIH.
where they create many, many, many billions of times more T cells. That I think that's what it is.
Yes.
And then they send it back to the hospital and then they put that into the
Plant
person's
it back
body.
in.
It's their very own way of fighting the tumor. And they've said that they have had success with that. There's some people who have died before they've actually got the treatment.
Treatment back, yeah.
But those people who have had the treatment, they've had a very good number of
Outcome, yeah.
successes. So
Wow.
I don't know if that's a little bit of hope, or it might be a dead end. It might be a cul-de-sac. I don't know.
Every little bit of hope.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out about that. My daughters have been amazing. They've been, all
Oh,
over the place finding things out and stuff.
yeah, that's good.
And but he's amazing, Lucy. He's so funny. And
Oh,
we didn't know
yeah.
how he would cope with it. But since he's been 5 years old, he's wanted a wheelchair.
No, an
Yes,
electric one.
yeah, because
Rona,
Let me tell you, Babasy, one of the wee lads that went to the first nursery that he went to was for children with special needs, and one of the boys had a wheelchair. Well, he was not impressed that he didn't get to have a go on this wheelchair, and he asked Father Christmas for one that Christmas.
No.
You're not getting a wheelchair. You don't need one.
You know, I'd quite like one of those buggies.
Yeah.
You know, imagine going through the Medina on a buggy like that. You go beep beep out the way, beep beep.
Oh,
For a long time
fantastic.
in my home office, I used to have just a standard wheelchair that you did manually, and I had it in my office because someone gave it to me. I forgot why, but it was the most comfortable and supportive chair I've ever sat in my life. However, my oldest son, may he rest in peace, it bothered him that his father was sitting in a
A
wheelchair
wheelchair.
to the extent that I gave it away.
Oh,
But
gosh.
I can understand the desire to sit in a wheelchair. I'll put
Yeah.
it this way: it's better to not need to sit in one,
Yeah.
but I understand the desire.
Yeah.
Well, we've had to go and get one for him, although he doesn't need it, right?
Right? It might
Um,
lift his spirits.
Well, not only did it lift his spirits, it's lifted everybody else's because
Oh,
he's been
so
amazing with
funny.
it. And I said to him, "You realise this is not an ordinary." He calls it a wheeling chair. I
Yeah.
said, "You realise, Stephen, this is not an ordinary wheeling chair. This is a walking and wheeling chair. So you walk in it for some time, and then you wheel in it for some time." And he
Clever.
took that on board, and he's
Good.
just been doing.
That's very good. I
Yeah,
really like
he's
that.
took that on board.
That's
Well,
Anyway,
ladies,
yeah.
I'm looking at my clock, and in
yeah,
about
I was
1
just
minute
going to say I'll let you
it will be
go.
time for me to get up
Yeah.
Yes.
because it's only 7 a.m. now where I am. I
Yeah.
got up
Thank
at
you,
3.
Waleed, for staying with us.
Yes, thank you, Waleed.
Are you
It was
in Morocco at
good
the
chat.
moment, Lucy?
No, I'm on the way to Oxford
Oh,
to visit
nice.
our daughter. Yeah, but
Oh,
no, in the
nice.
UK. Yeah, we're hopefully going out soon. We're trying to buy a house there
Oh,
to
Okay,
lovely.
so
to,
Lucy,
to live in.
replace the word trying with we're going to buy, or we
Yeah.
are buying a house there.
Yes.
We've been trying. We've been going to buy it since
Yeah.
February.
Well, my grandson's still there. He's in Oxford for another year or so. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
just one. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
when I come down to visit, maybe I'll meet you up for a coffee.
Yeah, we could go and coincide with a visit
Yes.
to our daughter. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I am.
she's trying to buy a house at the moment. She's going to buy a house at the moment.
Yes.
She's in her
I love it.
30s.
I like that, Babasi, because I only use positive language now. I don't
Yeah.
do any
Yes.
negatives.
Oh, well, that's good. I need to learn from you guys.
Yes.
Well, we
I'll
learn
speak
from
to
each
you
other.
soon.
Yeah.
I'll keep you in the loop, Lucy, and
Yeah.
let you know what's
Do.
going on.
Yeah.
But it's
And
been a
me.
difficult time, but we all have difficult times. I'll get through it.
Yes.
This too
Yeah.
will end, as my papa used to say. This too will end. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that miracle.
Yeah.
So, all
Well,
right.
even though I'm not a believer, I'll do some praying because apparently even if you don't believe, praying can still be effective. And I have
Apparently, well,
no idea how.
Lucy, I've got news for you.
Yeah.
They say that because the people who are praying don't believe, then they make it all the more likely that it
Oh,
will
good.
work.
Good.
Yes, to
Lucy,
disprove their,
there
to
there is
change their
some
belief. Yeah.
there is some evidence, and I have to put it that way, that praying is a positive act of focused energy. And when people focus their energy, all of those little things can add up and actually help bring about the change we're looking for. Like ITM, I'm a transcendental meditator,
Ah,
and they've shown that when if 1% of a city's population does TM at the same time every day, crime goes down.
Wow.
Yeah, it
really?
does. It does.
Brilliant.
Crime goes down, and more positive things seem to happen. So, since people are basically electrochemical beings,
Yeah.
I believe in the power of focused thinking and focused projection. So it makes
Yeah.
a difference.
It's not that the TM people were all the
The
thieves and
criminals, that's what I was going to
criminals.
say.
So when you got them sat down doing meditation, then they weren't stealing.
Hey,
That's what I was going to say, Lucy.
You would know. You would know.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to love you and leave you because I'm
Yeah.
looking after the my daughter's father-in-law's got dementia and it's quite bad.
Oh,
So I'm looking
Oh, I
after
hope he
him.
doesn't do sundowning. Does he do sundowning? My dad
Yeah,
did that.
well, last
When he
night.
gets angry in the afternoon
Yeah,
and
oh no, I don't
aggressive.
know about that because it's
Uh-oh.
quite recent. But what he did do last night, he usually goes to bed about 9 p.m. That's usually about the latest.
Yeah.
He didn't go to bed till 11:30. He got up
Ouch.
again at 1:30, and then 2:30, and then
Oh,
4 o'clock. I've had no sleep because my
oh,
daughter's on
so
holiday at the
sad.
moment, her and her
Oh,
husband and the
no.
boys. Yeah, so I'm
Oh,
staying here to look after him.
give him
Um,
vitamin D. Take him outside. Vitamin D,
yeah,
vitamin B, the B50,
I'm going
all
to
the
go and
8
do that. I've
vitamins.
never heard of that,
Oh
Lucy.
yeah, yeah, that
Sundowning.
sleep is essential and you need to have lots of vitamin D or going outside for at least 20 minutes is better
Yeah,
than taking the vitamins. And
right.
then
Well,
the
we'll do
B
that.
vitamins, all 8 B vitamins are essential. And then what I've heard is also prebiotics
Yeah.
help the vitamins. Have you heard that too, Babasi?
Yes, because the prebiotics help set up the biome in the guts
Yeah,
to better absorb vitamins.
yeah,
I'm an African American, and we
a
need
lot of,
vitamin D.
yeah.
However, I have some meds that vitamin D interfere with, so it's a
Oh.
balancing act. Uh, I don't want to be one of those people where the cure worked, but the patient didn't survive. you know.
You just have
But
to go
ladies,
outside more.
well, I
Well, I'm
try, but not no right now for the better part of the last 4 weeks. Our temperatures have been so high,
oh, I
cresting
know.
around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The
Oh.
humidity has been so high that they say for seniors, and I keep forgetting I'm a senior, that we should stay indoors, hydrate, and if we must go out, keep it to a minimum. And today I must go out, so
Right.
I'm gonna leave my lobby, get into a vehicle, run my errand, get back in the vehicle, and come back here. And oh wow, and maybe get a nap. We'll see.
That'll be
We'll
Yeah.
grand.
see.
Sorry, I'll
Lucy,
let you
do me a
go.
favourite
Yeah.
before I go. Could you if you speak to Colin and Claire and Little Liberty, will you send my
Yeah.
love? I've
Yeah.
written a story for her which I haven't sent her
Oh,
yet. So
lovely.
yeah,
Yeah,
just so she
I
knows I
will
haven't
do.
forgotten about her. She's such a
Yeah.
little sweetheart.
Yeah, and they
So
so appreciate you. They so appreciate you. We saw
oh
them last time we were there, and
yeah,
yeah, she's
oh,
growing up. She's
I
getting
bet you she
tall.
is. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Mm.
love to
All right.
Mike and
Yeah.
take care, and I'll
Yeah,
see
you
you
too.
soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay, Babasi.
Bye
Love
bye.
you too. Bye.
Take care. Tutu nana baka hanana. Until the next time.
Okay, bye. Where's
Bye.
my button? There it is.
Take care, Rona. My
Yeah,
love.
you too.
Right.
Thank you, my darling. Lots of love.
Pleasure's mine.
Bye.
See out.